Here we go with 2.2. Our goals is I can find slopes of lines and classify parallel and perpendicular lines. First, we're starting with some notes. First, slope is rise over run. Now, usually what we do is we use a formula. The formula that we use for rise over run, given 2 points, x1 comma y1, and x2 comma y2, is we use either the formula y1 minus y sub 2 over x sub 1 minus x sub 2, or we also can do y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Just make sure that the numbers are directly over themselves. So on the first one, what we want to do is we want to find the slope of these two lines. I'm going to show you two different ways to do the slope. The first way is to straight up use the formula. If I have this one as x1 comma y1, and I have this one as x2 comma y2, is just to use the formula y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So y1 is 5, y2 is 1, x1 is negative 3 minus 2, so you get 4 over negative 5. So that's using the formula. Another way that I like to do it, just because a lot of people, obviously, they mix up the y1 with the y2, is I like to line up my coordinate points. So if I have negative 2, negative 4, and I have 3, negative 1, now all I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract these values. So negative 4 minus negative 1, so negative 4 minus a negative turns into plus, so negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. Negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. Now we have to remember that the slope is y over x. This is my y, this is my x. So I'll have negative 3 over negative 5, which simplifies to 3 over 5. Now we have a couple different types of slope. We have like this, where it is positive, we have a negative, we have a zero slope, and we have undefined slope. When we have a slope that is positive, we often say that this type of slope is rising as we look at it going from left to right. If it's a negative slope, we see that it is falling. And then a horizontal slope has a zero slope, and an undefined slope has a vertical slope. So let's look at an example. Without graphing, tell whether the line through the point rises, falls, is horizontal, or is vertical. So what we have to do is we have to find the slope between these 2 points. Now I know it's probably not something that you've seen before, but I really like doing this method because my y's are lined up, my x's are lined up, and that way I'm not messing things up. So 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. I put my y over my x, so negative 2 over negative 3 gives me 2/3. So since my slope is 2/3, I know it's positive, so I know that my slope rises. Again, we can do the same thing. I'm going to line this up. I'm going to take 3 comma negative 4. I'm going to take 1 comma negative 6. I'm going to subtract these values. So negative 4 minus negative 6 turns into negative 4 plus 6, which is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. Y over x is going to be 2 over 2, which simplifies to 1. Again, this is a positive slope, so this rises. Example number 3, comparing steepness of lines. Now we can either have two types of graphs. We can have a steepness. So for example, if I look at a line, I know that one of these is steeper than the other. Which one would you rather climb? You'd probably like to climb this one rather than this one. All right, so the one that has less steepness is the one that we want to climb, whereas the one with more steepness is the one that we'd want to avoid because that would require more work. So the way that we check out to see which line is steeper is first by finding the slope. So if I have 4, 7, then I'm going to subtract 3 minus 7 is negative 4. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Put my slope together, so negative 4 over negative 2 is going to be 2. If I do my steepness of this one, this will be 4 over 5. So 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5. My slope for this is negative 3 over negative 5, which is going to be 3/5. Now, the bigger number will have the steeper slope. I should say the bigger absolute value number will have a bigger slope. So the absolute value of 2 is 2. The absolute value of 3/5 is 3/5. So the one that is steeper is the bigger number that we have. So in this case, line 1 is steeper. Now, for example, the reason why I have to say absolute value is because I might get two slopes, which is negative 3 and negative 2. In order to do negative 3 and negative 2, what we'd have to do is we'd have to take the absolute value of these values. So this would be 3 and 2. So this has a bigger absolute value. So we'd say that this line right here would be much steeper than this line over here. We also have parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines have the same slope. For example, negative 3 and negative 3. Those two, if we had two lines like that where the slopes are both negative 3 and negative 3, those would be parallel. Perpendicular is where you have the opposite and the reciprocal. So for example, if I have a slope of 7, the perpendicular line would be opposite of this, and it'd be the reciprocal. So instead of being 7 over 1, it'd be 1 over 7. If I had negative 2/3 as my slope, and I want to find the perpendicular line for this, I'm going to choose the opposite, which is positive, and I'm going to flip it. What's on the top goes on the bottom. What's on the bottom goes up top. So negative 2/3 and 3/2 are both perpendicular. So again, what we have to do is we have to find the slopes. So if I have this, I'm going to find my slopes. So I know 3 minus negative 1 is 3 plus 1, which is 4. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. This will give me 4 over negative 6, which reduces to negative 2 over 3. For line number 2, I'm going to find the slope of this right here. So I have 2 and I have 3. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. This will be negative 6 over negative 4, which is 3/2. Notice this one's negative, this one's positive. This one is 2/3, this one is 3/2. So this is the reciprocal of this. Therefore, I know that these two lines are perpendicular.